Good evening, and thank you all for joining us here in this hallowed place. I want to thank my fellow sheriffs, chiefs, Commissioner Farrow, law enforcement officers, dignitaries, elected officials, family, and friends for coming together to honor Deputy Robert Bob Paris Jr., CHP Officer Kenyon Youngstrom, and all of our fallen heroes who have paid the ultimate price. Once again, we gather together to pay our respects and mourn the loss of yet another brave, dedicated law enforcement officer. These courageous men and women sacrifice everything to protect those who can't protect themselves. They stand between good and evil, oftentimes under extraordinarily difficult circumstances, to protect our communities, serving the people of California and the United States of America. As we look around this evening and again tomorrow, you'll see different uniforms worn by law enforcement officers from throughout the state. But even as you see different uniforms, make no mistake, there is a special sense of unity here, a kindred spirit that ties us all together, a brotherhood. On this evening of remembrance, as we honor those who've given their lives in the protection and service of the community, I'm privileged to speak and share with you my support of our law enforcement family. I recognize the courage, bravery, and sacrifice required by all law enforcement personnel, a job that requires them without hesitation to put their lives on the line to protect those they don't even know. These selfless acts of courage are demonstrated time and time again as we see their names engraved on this memorial. These officers paid the ultimate price. They gave their lives so we can sleep in peace, and society should never take their sacrifice for granted. President Calvin Coolidge long ago said, "A nation that forgets its defenders will itself be forgotten." Certainly, we'll never forget those who protect and serve every single day, and let's also remember that what law enforcement does matters. What we see is unimaginable to the timid, what we do is unimaginable to the weak, and what these brave men and women endure day in and day out is unimaginable to those who take their hard work for granted. Public safety is a tough and dangerous profession, certainly one that is all too often underappreciated. A profession of high risk, high liability, high standards, and high expectations. Yet our law enforcement officers are subjected to debate, scrutiny, and unnecessary criticism for making split-second decisions that others wouldn't have the courage to make. They're drugged through the mud by the media who's desperate for the next salacious and scandalous story, a media who exploits other people's misery. Law enforcement officers are accused of abuse and corruption, cussed at, complained about, lied about, and sued. They hear about it and read about it every day. They hear and read how brutal they are, how racist they are, how unfair they are, how callous they are, how insensitive they are, and how more recently, how rich they are. And yet, despite permanent reductions in salary and being stripped of retirement benefits, despite challenge, adversity, and tragedy, despite time away from family, they continue to serve. They pick themselves up, they dust themselves off, and they get back in the fight. Peace officers are compassionate in their service, thoughtful in action, dedicated to their profession, and serve their communities with honor and distinction. Bob and Kenyon were our colleagues, our friends, and members of our family. They sacrificed their lives doing what they loved to do, serving the community as a deputy sheriff and a California Highway Patrol officer. Words cannot express our pain and anguish over what's happened, and we'll never be able to understand these senseless acts of violence. Acts of violence committed by cowards who have no regard or respect for life. On that fateful day in April of last year, as I knelt next to my friend and deputy sheriff, realizing there was nothing we could do to save him, I thought about his sacrifices described in the book of John, chapter 15, verse 13. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. I laid my hand on Bob's chest and asked the paramedics to take my friend away. Just take him someplace safe, I said. Deputy Paris was a shining example of what every law enforcement officer should be: competent and courageous, tenacious and tough, brave and dedicated, yet understanding and compassionate to those who needed a helping hand. Many of us here tonight are privileged to wear the badge, a symbol of the public's trust and confidence, which identifies us as members of law enforcement, first responders, and public safety. That symbol defines who we are and what we do. We run toward danger when others run away. We're there to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence and disorder. We wear our badge with pride because we love what we do and we love the community. We're privileged because our society has placed in our hands a sacred trust. Every day when we put on our uniform and hit the streets, we're given a tremendous opportunity to make a positive difference in the lives of those who need our help to fight against evil and do the most good. Yet all too often we pay the ultimate price. Every year in the United States, there are approximately 16,000 assaults on law enforcement officers, resulting in nearly 60,000 injuries. Sadly, over the last decade, an average of 160 law enforcement officers a year have been killed in the line of duty. And throughout the history of our great nation, 19,000 law enforcement officers have paid the ultimate price with their lives, the ultimate sacrifice. Next week, we'll be in Washington, D.C., attending the National Peace Officers Memorial, a place where Deputy Paris and Officer Youngstrom's names will be engraved, forever honored, and never forgotten. The memorial features 4 bronze lions, 2 male and 2 female, ever watching over a pair of lion cubs. Below each lion is carved a different quotation. It is not how these officers died that made them heroes, it is how they lived. In valor there is hope. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Carved in these walls is the story of America, of a continuing quest to preserve both democracy and decency, and to protect a national treasure that we call the American dream. I'm certain that everyone here tonight joins me in praying that we never add another name to this memorial, but sadly, the nature of what law enforcement officers do, how community safety and the well-being of others is their highest priority, how they run toward danger when others run away, all but ensures there will be others who will pay the ultimate price and give their life in the line of duty. On behalf of the men and women of the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office, on behalf of our entire law enforcement community, on behalf of the Paris family, the Youngstrom family, and our friends everywhere, I close by saying thank you. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Kenyon. Thank you both for making a difference. May God bless and protect not only our great nation, may He also continue to bless and watch over those who wear the badge so that others may live in a safe community. We'll miss you both. We'll never forget, and we'll see you again.